books were a little bit of a funnier one. I had a bit of a bumpy road. A few years ago, I had a bad thing happen. I'm really not, I don't want to go into too much detail about it, but it was pretty bad. And I ended up losing everything. And by that I mean my mind, my home, you know, my job, my livelihood, you know, my scientific reputation. I lost everything, absolutely everything. And I ended up, I was living in a penthouse at the Roman Baths in Launceston at the time, and I ended up moving into a homeless shelter. And over the next 18 months, I lived in 3 different homeless shelters. And the second and third one were actually here in Hobart. I came down here to volunteer at CSIRO. And my strategy, like I knew that I wasn't going to be able to work in science again. That part was clear. And everybody, all my friends said, nah, forget it. It's over. You'll never get another job again, you know. But I thought, well, okay, but if I can't get another job in science, it doesn't mean I don't have something to contribute to science. I know a lot, and I'm passionate about science, and I think that's worth something. And so in the first homeless shelter, actually before the first homeless shelter, a couple weeks before, but most while I was in the first homeless shelter, I was writing. And it was really a strategy to not have to face the fact that I was actually living in a homeless shelter, because it kind of does your head in. You know, like if you sit down and you go, oh my God, I'm living in a homeless shelter, you know, like it's not, I don't know, you know, I wasn't kind of in that headspace where that was my life, but it was, you know. So I just started writing, and I don't know, one day, it was really weird. I was just writing morning, noon, and night, and had the laptop on my lap, and you know, I'd wake up and, oh, laptop, keep writing, and fall asleep again. Wake up and keep writing, you know. And I don't know, one day I just went, oh my God, this is really good. And I had written Stung, my first book. And, you know, I didn't really trust my own judgment, because, you know, I mean, I was kind of in a bit of a crazy space at the time, you know. And so I had some friends read it, and they all went, oh my God, Lisa, this is really good. You've got to publish this. And so I worked up the guts to publish it. And it was funny, you know, I was in such a vulnerable place, but I came up with this really great strategy that I thought was completely foolproof. So what I did was I looked online and I found a couple of editors that looked like nice people, you know, their photos, they looked nice. So I thought, okay, that's a good start, you know, you want nice editors. And I went for university presses because my thinking was, well, you know, they're academic, so they're gentler. When they reject me, maybe they'll be nice about it. Maybe they'll be helpful about it, instead of just rejecting me and going, you suck, you know, because the whole you suck part was going to really hurt, you know. So I thought, all right, well, if they give me, you know, nice rejections, that would be better. And I actually chose a publisher that I really wanted to publish with, but I didn't want to waste my first chance on that publisher. I wanted to sort of make the mistakes with a different publisher. That was the academic ones who were supposed to give me the feedback. And so then I made up a list of what sort of rejections they were going to give me and what those really meant. So if they said, this is absolute crap, it's way too long, aha, that means cut it down. Or if they say, this is crap, academics are never going to read this. Aha, market it to the public. You know, so I wrote myself sort of a cheat sheet of what the different rejections actually meant, because I knew that when I got the rejections, I was going to take it personally. And I didn't want to take it personally. I wanted to be able to have this like straight head about it. So I thought, write myself out this list. So I sent it off to well, University of Chicago Press, obviously, because, you know, they did ultimately publish my book. But I also sent it off to Cambridge University Press. So to this day, I have still not heard back from Cambridge University Press. That's okay, they missed out. But I have a love affair with University of Chicago Press. They're fantastic. They're America's biggest academic publisher, and they are great. They really have been so magnificent to work with. And so I submitted it to the editor, the head editor. Her name is Christy Henry, and she looked very nice in her photo. And she wrote back to me within 36 hours, and she said, "We want the book." Oh my God, okay, this was the one thing that was not on my list. And I genuinely didn't know how to deal with that. It was like, oh my God. So I'm calling my friends, and I'm like, oh my God, they want the book. I don't know what to do. And they're like, give them the book. And I'm like, anyway. So it was a month, a month before I actually sent them the book, because I was in that much of a panic. What I was worried about was I had only sent them a proposal and 2 sample chapters. And I was genuinely terrified that when I sent them the whole book, they were going to see that I wasn't as good of a writer as they thought I was, and they were going to reject it, and then I was going to be really crushed after sort of building up and then being shot back down. And so I was really terrified to submit it because I was so sure they were going to reject me. And so my friends were like, no, it's okay, just get it out of the way. They're university publisher, remember your list. When they reject it, that's fine, you just use their comments, stay on track, Gershwin, stay on track. And I'm like, okay, stay on track, okay, send. And I actually had 3 other people holding my finger when I hit the send button because they honestly didn't think I was going to really do it. So anyway, so we hit the send button. And and then they published it. They sent me money. They sent me a contract. I mean, it was amazing. I was like, what? You're paying me money for this? Wow, And yeah, so that was kind of a really amazing experience. And from that, I then got this really weird email from this publisher in the UK. And they said, we'd really like to write a coffee table book about jellyfish, and we'd like you to write it. And I was like, yeah, right, what's up with that? So I wrote back and I'm like, what do you have in mind? Because I'm kind of thinking, yeah, right, So I'm like, yeah, what do you have in mind, as far as like, time frames, remuneration, et cetera, et cetera. And they wrote back and said, we'll pay you $15,000 up front, and you know what? I don't even know what the rest of the email said. Because like they had me at 15K, So I was like, yeah, okay, sign that, And so I don't know, it's been quite a exciting adventure. And, from there, it's just grown and grown, like I can't believe it. I gave a couple of TED Talks. Like these producers of TED contact me and say, hey, we'd like to fly you to Dublin and have you give a TED Talk. And I'm like, really? Okay, And so that's been kind of fun, one in Melbourne, one in Dublin. And then I got an email from a professor at Harvard University, and he said that they were teaching a class based on my book, and they wanted me to come to Paris with the class and give a bit of an opening talk for the symposium, and then go on a cruise around the Mediterranean looking for jellyfish. Come on, what was I going to say? Seriously. Like, of course the answer is yes. I was like, okay, how's it going to be there, So we did that, and then we concocted this crazy idea while we were in Paris to have this big art exhibition based on my book and based on students' projects dealing with jellyfish. And yeah, so it was this, and what happens in the field stays in the field, right? Like everybody has great ideas when you're in the field and you kind of go, all right, yeah, we'll see where that goes, But they did, they followed through with it, and it was amazing. It was really amazing. It was this real art exhibition, and it's really beautiful, and I'm so very proud of it. And I just can't believe that, that is inspired by my book, It just makes me very blushy. And then, so that was up for a while, and then that came down, and then the National Academy of Sciences in America contacted me and said, we'd like to put the art exhibition back up and have you come over and give a talk to the National Academy Conference and, about your book and stuff like that. And I was like, okay. So, I guess from my point of view, like, I just can't believe, like, it just keeps, I don't know, it just keeps rolling, So, okay. So that's the fun parts. There really isn't a downside to writing honestly. I wish I could give you like some really sage advice, like, ooh, be careful of, or ooh, don't, no, none of that. Man, I love writing, I really do. Because writing is about what's in your mind. It's about what you want to say, and you can craft the sentence to be exactly the way you want it, and you can craft the paragraph and the chapter and the book or the paper or the whatever you're writing, you can craft it to be exactly what you want to say. And it's really interesting. Right now, I'm actually reviewing 2 books that are about to be published following week. And Nature, Nature, the journal Nature, holy cow, I'm so out of my league on this one, guys. So Nature contacted me and said, we'd like for you to write a review of these 2 books combined. And I was like, yeah, sure, because it's the only Nature paper I'm ever going to get, But no, look, but it's really interesting reading these 2 books because they're both written by women who are just as in love with their subjects as I am with mine. One of them's about jellyfish, one of them's about squids. So I'm in hog heaven with these books, right? And it's really interesting seeing their writing styles. It's their first books for both of them, and they're both brilliant in their own ways, but they couldn't be farther apart in terms of their approach. But they're both good. They're both readable. They both deserve to be published. They both excite me and stimulate me and make me want to go just dancing into pirouettes with excitement at reading these books. And so I guess the take-home message there is that one of them is very laid back and very relaxed in a dreamy sort of way, which I actually think is very planktonic, like jellyfish. She's just kind of meandering along in the book, and it has this really kind of in love, kind of lackadaisical feel to the writing. The other one, she's sharp, she's driven, she's witty, she's lively, very much like Nekton or squids. And so it's very exciting to see these 2 different writing styles with these 2 different subjects and how they've chosen to craft what they want to say. And I guess to you guys, I would hope that you're taking this class because you want your writing to be something more than just, oh, okay, I have to write an assignment, okay, I'll do my best, okay. Name, title, I don't know what I'm going to write, I don't know what I'm going to write, I don't know what I'm going to write, we all go through that, right? I read one time that the 2 hardest words in any book to write are the first word and the last word, and that is so true. That is so true. So I cheat. I don't start at the beginning and I don't start at the end. I kind of do those last. I just start in the middle. I just start with what I feel. And actually, I really do cheat. So can I give you guys a tip? I don't know, maybe it won't work for you, but it totally works for me. So if any of you guys, if it works, that's great, go for it. If it doesn't work, just go, she totally doesn't know what she's talking about.